As a young adult transitioning in and out of academic and professional environments, I feel pressure to launch my career successfully. I also pick up a lot of messages from society about how to optimize success and what traits are valued in today's professional landscape. It seems that almost every career advice blog talks about the importance of using the internet and social media to, quote, build your personal brand. I feel continually warned that success requires incessant self-promotion. That idea is daunting for me, not necessarily because of the work it requires, but because that is just not me. Despite the impression of most millennials, I, for one, can say that I am not very good at multitasking and at times have what I might call mild social media anxiety. I enjoy spending large chunks of time focusing on a complex problem or reading in depth about a topic and engaging in conversation about it, and I prefer such activities over fast-paced group thinking or keeping a growing handful of social media profiles up to date. So does this put me at a disadvantage relative to many of my peers? Recognizing that I need to work within the modern social fabric around me, instead of feeling overwhelmed or left behind, how can I find my voice and participate genuinely? My perspective on this changed dramatically when a friend told me about a book by Susan Cain called Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Perhaps some of you have read it too. Once I started reading the book, I could barely put it down. I felt this wave of validation sweep over me. For practically the first time, someone was telling me how introversion and many of the traits that tend to accompany it can be an advantage rather than a disadvantage, a personality style to be respected, maybe admired at times, rather than a second-class personality trait. Reading this book reminded me that there is a place for quiet reflection, for risk aversion, for patient listening and methodical thinking before speaking, perhaps a place that is ever more important in what feels like an increasingly fast-paced world. Several months later, when I moved to Berkeley and first started coming to FCCB, this perspective was reinforced by a sermon that Shelley gave us about the gifts we bring as individuals in a community. Shelley helped us think about how even things that we might be initially inclined to view as disadvantages can be thought about as gifts, gifts that give us special and often complementary perspectives or skills, perhaps great empathy, wisdom, perseverance, or an appreciation for detail. I thought about the difference it was making for me to view some of my introverted tendencies as a gift. How, for example, viewing a slow, methodical work style as a gift had allowed me to approach my work more confidently. I realized that the imperative to give rise to that which is within you also challenges me to make the most of those gifts and to use a more nuanced self-awareness to stretch the boundaries of my comfort zone. I will need to draw on a style of quiet leadership to express my ideas and to serve others. How can each of us give rise to the strengths that come from our true natures? Spiritual awareness and self-awareness for me are interwoven. I believe that to know what is within us, to know our gifts and appreciate them and ourselves for who we are, is a form of spiritual growth. Growth that I think can help us turn to God for support from a foundation of gratitude for the tools we've already been given. Reflecting on this saying of Jesus gives me faith that in pursuing a meaningful professional voice in a style that comes from within, I will not be weighed down by insecurity or overwhelmed by an extrovert ideal. I am reminded that we can be saved by the fulfillment that comes from being ourselves and enjoying the journey all the more.